Welcome to Healings and Meditations with Frank Jordan and the Earth Mind Think Tank Group. We take requests for healings in the second hour. You can call in on 702-879-4770 or on Skype, wolfspirit.switchboard1. If you simply wish to make a healing request, please type into the chat room on wolfspiritradio.com with the name of the person, the location, and the condition of the person needs healing. You're listening to Wolf Spirit Radio. Sunday, June 22nd, 2014, Healings and Meditations with Frank Jordan. What do you think of the new theme tune?
Well, it was interesting.
Interesting. That's like a food that you don't quite like.
Well, I really sincerely wasn't listening that closely. I was looking to see what the sun and moon were doing right now in the sextile, and we were discussing prior to the show in the group how we're all feeling and everything, and the feeling is just like nothing really pushing us. Everything's okay. We're just laid back and benign, and nobody getting very excited about anything. And so I looked at the astrological influences, and what it is, see if I can find it again. Okay, moon, sextile, sun, or triune sun. Feelings and thinking can be easily aligned. Inner conflicts float away. Ambition ebbs as the feeling of being contented rides high. Harmony is everywhere. We can just let it be. And that surely relates to the way we're feeling tonight. We were also discussing about how this seemed to be this time of openness and being laid back, perhaps made us vulnerable to some things that are affecting some of our people, like allergies that are unfortunate, and other things that are like infections. And so perhaps we let down our protective shields a little bit in this laid-back state. So we don't always remember to keep ourselves aware and in charge of our reality so we don't become subjective to it. The other thing I've been observing is the fact that worldwide, in Iraq, everything is just disintegrating over there. And after 10 years or 15 years of the Americans trying to program that country and make a democracy out of it, it seemed like they just can't seem to get it together. And I stepped back, looked at that situation, and wondering, why can't people just get along? Why can't they just share? And the realization is that that's been the way of life for those people for thousands of years. And reflecting on that, they've lived in domination, absolutely programmed to survive in domination. And that's the way that entire Mideastern area is get a little territory and protect it, dominate it, and control it. And if you can subjugate a neighbor, that makes you twice as powerful. But that thing in this new world order that is evolving can't exist much longer. And one observation I've had over the years of watching energy systems and cycles and people evolve up and go down is that domination always self-destructs. And this is because the dominators, the more powerful ones that draw their energy laterally from everyone else, can get more and more powerful as long as they have the support and are projecting the ideals or things that people want to hear or are reasonably think they want to hear. But when people get tired of that, withdraw their support, domination turns upon itself. And those that have built the structure of domination, the pyramid, begin to turn on each other and they self-destruct. And we can see this happening over there right now, where Malachi tried to be another Saddam Hussein. Rather than being working with all three groups, pulling them together to make a workable democratic country out of it, he tried to dominate the other country, that areas of the country. You had the Shiites and the Sunnis and the Kurds, and it just isn't working. It's falling apart. So they're coming in, the jihad, with very few soldiers actually taking over the country that the U.S. has worked so long and hard to bring into the modern era. But that's not to say they're going to lose everything. It's like reorganization and determining what is right for the country by them working through this situation and selecting their leaders and coming into the modern age, and they'll do it. And we knew that was going to happen as soon as the U.S. pulled out and took the power away from Maliki. It had to happen eventually, and it's just inopportune that it happened at this time, right when the world reset and the financial structure was coming in to happen. But in any event, it'll work its way through, and we can only be patient and follow through by being positive every opportunity we get. The other thing we were discussing just before the show, and JP brought this one up, is the subject of relationships. And that's what triggered me into thinking about relationships on all levels, even those having to do with countries, individuals, and groups. And once again, looking at personal relationships, I've had the opportunity to study thousands and thousands of people and work through their personal relationship problems. And it's so interesting in that, and there's one small solution that settles everything out and makes everything work in a relationship. It doesn't matter what level it's on, whether it's a national country like Iraq or just pertaining to yourselves. There's one little rule. It's a very simple one that Jane and I evolved very early in our relationship when we got together some 30 years ago. And because we were exact opposites in everything but our work. In the work, we were wonderful. She was clairvoyant and could see what needed to be done, and with my clairsentience and energy power, we could heal virtually anything. So we were great in our working partnership. But as soon as we stepped out of that back into our personal life, we were just at odds, totally. Could not understand the other one, could not relate to their experiences or their choices, and because I was a cowboy and she was a California girl right out of the big city. And that's about as extreme opposites as you can get. And but very early on, we realized that in discussing our problems and our differences, that there was just one thing that really worked. By this time, we were evolving the clearing the way techniques of being able to go in and find a pattern or a form and deprogram it out of ourselves so it wouldn't be dominating the reality and the discussion or whatever we were doing together. And so we learned that after some very fiery fights and whatnot of projecting at each other, Spirit came through and said, now look, you guys, just settle back and listen to what the other one had to say without responding, without emotion. Just listen and bring that person's thoughts and ideas into your own system. Look at the situation from their point of view and see why they feel the way they do. And then if it's coming from a pattern or program that the person has that needs to be cleared, you can suggest that, not demand it or try to control the situation, but suggest, I see this in you. And the person that's receiving, on the receiving end of that, says, instead of projecting back and denying or trying to control the situation, learn to say, if you can see it in me, it must be here. and then they would that person would step back, bring up the pattern or program, and energetically you would both clear it out of yourselves, out of both people, because even though to be primary in one, living together and interacting together, you download your negative patterns and programs, or your positive ones too, into the other person. So it's necessary to clear and release from both of you, whatever the situation is. Take the energy off of it by not bringing it up to the battle level, but keep it in the non-emotional conscious level of step back, observation, recognition, defining it, bringing it up, clear it, and then replacing it with something nice. Just a nice exchange of love, if nothing else. And so we learned to do that. And it still took some time, but by the time we progressed through and learned how to identify where the other person is coming from, and going behind the dynamics or underneath the dynamics, what was really making it, was this a program from their parents, or was this a survival thing that they had created in a previous relationship? Is it something that is just a defensive mechanism that needs to be cleared? So we learned to do that. And in that process, we became compatible. And rarely ever had a word. Are you relating to that, JP?
Yeah. Sorry, it took me a while to go. You always ask me that question when I'm in the kitchen. I'm hearing it on the I have a radio. But am I relating to it? I wish I could. I wish it could be that calm. And yeah. There's been you talk about projection. Well, there's been projectiles. It's been work. Anyway,
it's a work in progress.
Yeah.
And every day is a learning experience. And once you achieve a level of learning and knowing, you don't go back and repeat the old negative patterns. You replace them with a positive one. Any more thoughts, ideas on that, anyone?
So, thanks, Frank. The listening thing, it's a kind of obvious thing, really, but being able to listen without interrupting the other person is a really important thing, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. That's the first thing you have to do. Is by observation defining, you help the person to understand within themselves what their real problem is. And it may be something totally different from what is projecting. Always go underneath the dynamics and go behind the dynamics. Say, where is this coming from? Where are you feeling this in your body? Is it coming out of your low self dominator, or is it coming out of your fear chakra, or is it coming out of your solar plexus, or you had to control your reality in order to survive? And it's a whole process of not only learning about each other, but learning how things work. That's kind of my byword is learning how things work and then putting it into effect. Does anyone else have any comments?
Well, by learning how things work, you do have to go back to the very beginning of listening. And most people do not listen when they're in a conversation or a discussion or an argument. Their brain is multitasking and coming up with responses to what's being said, and they're not listening or hearing to what exactly is being said or stated.
That's quite true. True listening, learning to listen, is one of the most valuable tools we have in our arsenal. Because without listening, you don't really comprehend and gain the full grasp of the full situation. And then after you listen and understand, you allow the solutions to rise up, and the solution will be win-win. It'll be in dominion. It won't be in the domination where the fight started out.
It sounds like the difference between discussion and debate. In discussion, there's a constructive exchange of ideas. A debate is just showmanship of dominion. Who can control the other?
This is a simple process, but it can relate to everything you do and everything that nations do. It's a process of wisdom, learning how to communicate with wisdom.
Well, it's making me a little bit squirmish, this conversation, because I'm feeling back in time in my upbringing, which was pretty comfortable and nice. Not a lot of arguing or conflict, but none of us listened. We really didn't. I grew up not having that skill of listening during a disagreement or valuing somebody else's input, because you're always waiting for your time to say why you believed what you believed, and you're already there without hearing anything the other person was saying, and that carries forward into every relationship. So that's a tricky one, and you don't have that from the start.
There's another aspect to this too. Women in their conversations with other women, rapport. They resonate with each other. They try to come up with win-win. What can I do to help you today? Men, on the other hand, report to enhance their ego and what they are controlling or can control. And so that win or win-lose attitude, and that comes together, the win-win side rapidly breaks down into defensive posture against the controller, which is usually the men. But not always. Many times the women are the dominators too. If they've been programmed in a dominating family to where survival of the fittest literally is the mode of operation. And women can be horribly dominating, and in many cases more so than men, because they put more energy into it, of having to maintain their stance or control their positions.
Do you think that comes from the difference between men and women, that women feel as if they're not heard from a young age, and they're brought up so that they keep talking louder and more and louder, and men know that they're heard and just don't give a you know what?
Absolutely. Have you ever watched little kids communicate? It's domination. Right from because they are little animals. They are born into the domination world with domination patterned into their gene for survival. And as they grow older, the parents' responsibility is to domesticate them into our human reality and interactions. And if the parents are having difficulty, they pass that right on directly into the kids. This is what a family is like. This is how families survive. Therefore, the programming has to start at a very early age, mostly by the parents learning how to get along with each other and nurture and love and function in dominion, which gives the child an opportunity to express themselves and be heard, which is also kind of a rare thing, you know. And it becomes a union of desire and will acting to manifest a uniform consciousness of peace and love and harmony in the entire relationship. So,
I have a question to ask. You were saying that there was a list that you gave very quickly. In the beginning, you listen, then recognize.
Well, first of all,
yeah, they are again. They phone every week.
Okay, hold on.
I just want someone to listen.
Yeah, I know. It's just another attention demand.
Yeah,
no.
That's the same thing.
That was a good one.
It's always the same time.
Okay, the list. Mm-hmm. First of all, is loving the person enough, or honoring the person, respecting the person enough to listen to what they have to say, and to listen in a manner that isn't defensive, that is open and receptive, and while you're not analyzing so you can come back with a riposte that dominates them, but sees through into what the person's need is. If in a big argument you just shock people to death, if suddenly you stop right in the middle of the argument and ask the other one, "What's your need?" Duh. They never thought of that, you know. What's your need? If you can fill each other's needs, there is no room for argument. There's nothing to argue about. Now the second thing is, once you define that need or see where the other person's coming from, is to follow that pattern in and recognize if this is a repetitive thing that just keeps coming up again and again and again. That's what it was with Jane. In my first marriage, we never argued. We were very compatible, never had a reason to argue because we just supported and nurtured each other. It was a shock to me to get with Jane, who had to fight every inch of the way with her husband to ever be recognized and to be heard. And so I was just really at a loss until I learned to fight back. Jane taught me quite rapidly how to fight back until I come into self-realization and said, wait a minute, this is not the way to do it. And I began to learn this process of looking underneath the dynamics to what's really happening, finding the source of it, seeing if it's a repetitive pattern that's being passed down from a past relationship or from the parents or society or whatever. And if it is, deprogram it. These are all just energy programs that the subconscious mind, when it's triggered, it just runs the program again. It's the same argument again and again and again. Maybe with different words, different approaches, different controller factors, but it'll be the same thing. So you say, wait a minute, what's your need? My need? Damn, I don't know. You know, and so you go beyond that and say, well, let's look a little deeper. Let's see what triggers that, and get the person looking within themselves at the source of their problem. For example, in fights over money or something like that, if a fight starts over who's spending too much money or who's spent something inappropriately in a relationship, you need to step back and again together figure out the source of lack. Why do you feel like there's not enough? Why do one of you have to hoard while the other has to spend? And surprisingly, it'll be for the same reason. We hoard. Some people hoard because without hoarding, you don't have anything to spend, and then they don't spend it. Where the spender side of it spends because it's there, and you have to spend it before it's all gone. Now that's kind of the relationship that Jane and I had in our early arguments over money. I was always hoarded until something big came along and I had to have it. And Jane, if any money came in, it was to be spent immediately on. If she didn't have any needs, it didn't make any difference. She created a need. And so we worked through that and let go of her background, her family of having a single mother, a working mother. And when the paycheck came, they spent for whatever they thought they needed really quickly, and then they starved until the next paycheck came in. It was an amazing thing. Where on the ranch we always conserved, always held back because we knew that there was going to be a greater need for money than what our personal needs were. So we denied ourselves in order for the whole ranch to survive and function and keep on going. Where in Jane's family, or with her mother, it was spend it on yourself before the other one can. It was really interesting, but we worked through that and then learned to discuss what we had and what our needs were, and we got through that one. So there's 1,000 different subjects we could bring up and talk about, but if you take everything back to that one simple little formula I talked about of listening, defining what the need is, going behind the need to the pattern that's pressing the energetic conversation, clearing it, replacing it with a positive program of some kind, working out an agreement, then seal it with a kiss. Love each other. Love each other enough to give when the other person has a sincere need, and love it unconditionally with no expectation of return. That's something I've just learned in these latter years. Any suggestions? What else could be added to that?
Oh, can you talk?
One of the things that sorry.
Oh no, I'll save it for later. You go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to mention that in Frank's narrative, I see two very important elements that are needed, like when they would bounce things off of each other to identify, isolate the program that's causing this, and how we go about neutralizing it and replacing it with something positive. And what I observe is that, number one, there was the willingness to see, okay, what is the source of this argument, or what if there's a program there, there's a willingness, okay, we're going to deal with the program. And the other thing is ensuring that, yes, it is more important, the attitude is more important to me to nurture and protect this relationship than to protect the program. Because I have witnessed people in arguments where it's more important for them to be right, to preserve that distorting program, than to make a peace, than to be in a harmonious relationship.
Exactly.
This is my identity, don't take it away from me.
The other thing is, to those first two excellent points, is never go to sleep on an argument. Solve it.
Oh,
get it done.
For the soul.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, there's a lot of argument, relationship with between a man and a woman. They're trying to get along. Well, not just in that situation, but in a lot of any kind of relationship, a lot of the problems are we're hurting each other's feelings, and we're in denial about, we're not focusing on the pain and the cause of what did you do to make me cry and hurt. If I bang my shin on the chair, what's your first thing you want to do? You want to kick the chair or hurt it back. Something hurts you, the natural reaction is you want to hurt it back.
An eye for an eye.
You got to get in control of that, to that deeper level of feeling, the feelings behind the words.
Yes, but you were trained to do that by your parents.
Right. Well, you got to get rid of all that crap. That's not going to help. We got to get beyond what we learned from people that didn't know nothing. We all came from places. Anybody have perfect parents that knew how to raise kids? Very rare.
This is a really important discussion we're having, because this is the basis for dominion.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to give another example of how to come to the sort of that recognition, and it's a kind of a funny story, but it really got my husband and I over humps, and it was based on a cartoon. There was one some years ago called Ren and Stimpy, and it was a cat.
Oh, Ren and Stimpy, they were good.
You know. And one time, Ren the dog did something. I don't even know if they were dogs or cats. I think Stimpy was a cat, because I ended up calling my cat Stimpy after it. And Stimpy was really hurt by something that Ren had done. And no matter what Ren did to try to win Stimpy back, Stimpy would always go, I don't care. I don't care. I don't care.
Right.
And so my husband and I, whenever we would kind of get at that point where something had happened between us, I pulled off that, I don't care. Right? And then we would both laugh. And the laughter seemed to also, even though you can't intellectualize it, you know there's something wrong and you don't even have the wherewithal. Maybe you're tired or who knows what, or hungry, or like you said, you stubbed your toe, and you don't have the wherewithal to solve it, but you know that you're both feeling tender, and sometimes just laughing by deliberately making fun of yourself can get you through that. And for, like the longest time we used that, and it sincerely took us to another level of, like, the arguments are extremely rare between us, and they're very short-lived. They don't really go deep and hurtful or anything. They just, it's like it ends up solving itself really quickly because the humor is at the surface, so close to the surface. So I recommend that you laugh at yourself or each other.
Yeah, it's hard to do when you're in a rage, though, and everybody's screaming at each other. It's kind of hard to bust out a big belly laugh.
Yeah, I never get to a rage point.
Well, a lot of people do. I was just thinking from what I've seen in a few places.
China. China.
I used to like to make preemptive strikes with. I would like to make an announcement ahead of time when I felt something was coming on. I'd just say, in the next 15 minutes, if I start screaming or acting irrationally, I apologize in advance. Don't take it seriously. I'm trying to change it. And we'd just go about our business, but we would be laughing because it was expected that, something was gonna crack and we were gonna have an argument, but we had already pre-paved that it was not gonna be serious. So as soon as we'd start arguing, we would just look at each other and go, oh, that's right. That was what was on the brink, Just let it go and laugh.
Brilliant.
Do that every time, but
Good.
My sister and I got into an argument a while ago. I don't even remember what it was about. And we both stormed off into opposite directions. And she came to find me to apologize. And I was being a hard ass, and I would not accept it. So, she left the room crying. And I sat there and I thought, what blankety blank am I not to accept her apology? I go, talk about two wrongs not making a right. So I got myself up off my rear end and went and found her and apologized for not accepting her apology, because that takes a lot of encouragement and, no ego coming in to apologize to somebody, and then to have somebody throw it back in your face and not accept it.
They're still hurt, that's all.
But who's the bigger person? If somebody comes to apologize to you for something that they did, wholeheartedly with their soul, and you're going to be a hard ass and not accept that, or at least be gracious and listen to them, who's really at fault? Whose soul is not growing?
Well, the problem is when the other party, or one of the parties, isn't willing to accept the fact that it's more important to have harmony than to be right. If they just think, I'm right, I have the right to continue this because I'm proving my point, the other person's already emotionally involved, and they're not listening to the rational explanation. That's the time when you just back off and say, this is not a right or wrong subject. This is just two people having conflicting ideas, but neither one is wrong. That's a hard thing for people to do.
Right.
There's also some programs that are starting, I'm seeing at schools, with nonviolent communication, and it's very much what Frank just shared about. And basically it's listening to each person, but everybody truly just wants to be understood. And when they're understood, you can come together with a solution that will work for everyone. And a lot of kids are getting some of these new teachings, and I think it's so fabulous. And that's moving us into more dominion.
You know, Rachel, what you just said made me think is perhaps we should go back to those simple games of playing telephone, you know, where you would whisper something to somebody, then they would whisper what you said to someone else, and see how distorted it gets when it goes around the circle.
Yeah, that's right. So interesting, because a lot of times we assume we think we know what someone else is going through, but we don't. And you have to check in to really find out what was said and where they're at with things. And it may be very different than what you think. And then people do get caught up in needing to be right. But these nonviolent communication programs are really wonderful. And a lot of these young kids are getting these new tools to communicate and work with each other as a group. And it's wonderful to see. I'm not an expert in all this. I just hear this from a dear friend of mine. And it's incredible to hear the stories and how the kids are growing from these experiences.
I love NVC. It's people, you see, it's people who have gotten into this. These are the first takers of the NVC, people with a natural empathy, and they know how it feels to be abused verbally, but they also have the strength to be able to express it back. And the people who brought that, you know, who created that, the whole concept of it, are enlightened beings who are turning domination into dominion, in my humble.
Mm-hmm. What's the NVC?
Non-violent communication.
NV. Oh, I thought you said NBC.
NBC. I love NBC. Yes, that's pretty colors. 7 rays. They have hijacked the 7 rays. Look at them.
Oh, my God. Well, I think a really important thing to teach the kids growing up is that there is no set truth. There is no one truth, that everyone's perspective is valid. And maybe we just need to learn how to express our truth better to each other so that we can understand a little bit more clearly where somebody's coming from and develop that empathy instead of just saying, no, this is the way I learned it, and this is right, and the way I'm feeling is right, so that must make you wrong. That's an endless game. That's part of it.
Yeah, it's a duality deal.
Right.
That's the change from dominion or from domination.
Right.
Domination, there is always someone wrong, and you are always right.
Well, when you're dominion, you're focused on your dominion, your domain. That's the other people in your domain, the people around you, instead of being focused on yourself like you're the most important thing. Actually, you're not the most important thing.
You realize that you're all connected. You're all. If you put somebody else down, you put the whole thing down. So why bring that upon the whole group? You're trying to uplift. And in dominion, you're working together, even if you're on your own. What you do is service to others, not service to self.
And I think a lot of people talk wrong, too. They're actually putting each other down in subtle ways.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we're talking about male, female, man, woman, companionship, relationship, communication. Let's talk about mother-daughter relationships.
Yes, let's.
So you want to go there?
Yeah.
Oh boy, now I'm sweating again.
Yeah. I sense discomfort in the room here. Because this is a real tricky one. I agree. I see my sister, my mum, and their stuff.
Before you said that, Frank, I was listening, but part of me was also going, wait, sometimes when you have a disagreement or an argument, you have someone, instead of taking the I'm right thing, they take the opposite and they go, well, of course it's my fault. I'm wrong because I'm always at fault. I'm always wrong. So just put all the blame on me. And you have somebody that you're trying to talk through that, who is more or less what I call playing the victim. And you're trying to talk to them and say, no, that's your perspective. This is my perspective. And I says, no, you're not wrong. And I'm not entirely right. Because you have somebody that, takes that stance, which is being more or less, or, passive aggressive.
Well, when the daughter asks why, and the mother says, because I said so, how do you deal with that one?
Yeah. Very true.
Depends on what the situation is and how many times you've answered the question why. Because a lot of times the question why is asked because they're not satisfied with the answer that you gave the first time, and they're working you to get the answer they want that will benefit them.
It's a little bit of controller energy coming in there.
Yes, very much so. And you have to look at where they're coming from and their level of understanding. Sometimes you can't really say, and yeah, you can't really say, you end up saying, because, I have been in situations and I would rather have you not do that because of blah, 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 blah. But if they're a child, it's very difficult because, like you've said, Frank, they're an animal. They cannot think behind. So what I used to do, because I would ask questions, but I had a mother who did the guilt thing. When I, how could you do that? And I'm going, whoa, talk about. But I say because, this is a safety thing, or I just don't want you to get hurt, or, for right now, can you just please go along with this? Because when you can understand it a little better, we'll talk about it later.
Well, the dynamics of communication are many faceted, and you're all coming up with various facets. And yet, if you look underneath the dynamics to the little base program we learned at the first part of the program, you could eliminate all of that, right down to the manipulating teenager who has learned to manipulate to get her way, and realizing that she got away with manipulation a few times, enough time to learn that she could control with manipulation, and not accepting this because I said so, and because the parent didn't explain why she said so, and why it's important for the child to do it this way and her way, rather than allowing the child to communicate their need and express what would work well for both of them. And manipulators and controllers, it becomes a subpersonality. All of these things become subpersonalities that when they're triggered, they come right back up with the program. And the program keeps getting more intensified as you grow up through the family and go out into a dating relationship, and then right on into marriage. And, and what is it, 60% of marriages that don't work now because they couldn't communicate?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Well, let's switch over to another interesting aspect. Fathers and sons. And I can comment on that one. My dad was a Leo, and I see my brother Don is on here now, and he can comment to this too. Dad was always right, and there was no discussion about what needed to be done on the ranch or anything else. We just did it his way, and that's all there was to it. And it's ultimately the sons would mature enough. There was 5 sons that they just couldn't handle that one-way communication, and with no respect or recognition of what they were contributing to the ranch, and they would leave, and he would cycle another son in to take his place when he left the ranch. And you remember that, Don? Maybe he doesn't have his microphone on. But and then we had the oldest son was an extreme dominator. He dominated all the younger sons. And actually, he got so dominating he could control my dad and mom too. So that's another dynamic. Go ahead.
Are you receiving me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very, very true. If you want to change something that's been profitable for the ranch, he would say, "We will see." And I can assure you, when he said that, you would not ever bring the subject up again. And over the years, it cost us many thousands of dollars because his granddad was equally as bad as he was. So they were partners in several ranches, and they would get into an argument, and neither one would give up until it cost one or another a whole lot of money that he couldn't cover, and the other one covered it. So anyway, that's our history. We come from a family of my grandparents. My granddad was one of 12. All they did was fight. Anybody would fight him, and when they could not find anyone to fight them, they'd fight one another. See, so that's the way that's our history. See, you see where we amounted to from all of that. Anyway, that's my story.
Well, it's the story of male domination as patterned right down through history, and right up to the point to where the English system was built on it. The Lord system, that the male dominator, greatest male dominator was the lord of the farm or the territory or the estate, and it always passed to the oldest son because he automatically was assumed to have more dominating power than the rest of them did, no matter how intelligent or brighter the younger ones may have been. Oh, it's horrible the way this sets up as domination into our societies. And right down to the corporation too. The bigger the domination, the dominator is, the more control, the more power. That's what puts them up the ladder and in greater and greater control. And that's what we have to break down as far as the male side is concerned. Male children need to be taught at an early age of how to listen, how to give when it's appropriate to give, how to receive in direct abundance according to what his needs are instead of what he thinks he needs. And I could go on for hours on domination and the need to learn dominion and how to express it in the world. And this is one of our greatest challenges is to define these things and get it into not only the family systems, but the school systems, so that it becomes an operating part of our reality, recognizing the difference between domination and dominion. If we could just get that one concept out, and the supporting factors that support either aspect of that, the whole world will change.
Frank.
I don't want to hear about it.
No, I was just going to say, are there any, could you suggest any, for instance, films or TV series where you see or where you've seen dominion exercise, so people can know what it looks like, so they can get to what it feels like, so that we can begin to create that in our... We need models. Can you suggest models, Frank?
Can anyone else?
I got one. Dominion is when the thing you focus on is making the world, the universe, all the people around you feel better than they were a second ago. That's all. The domination, you don't take that into consideration, because the dominator, his viewpoint, his deal is what's important. It doesn't matter. Other people aren't important. They're just there to be used. The world is just there to be used. The planet is full of gold and minerals to be just used and tapped into. It doesn't matter how it makes the planet feel. It doesn't matter how much it hurts anybody or how much pollution it causes. None of that matters. It's only that I'm in control. I'm the big cheese. I'm the guy with the money. I'll call the shots. But the opposite of that is feeling you got to keep making things better for other people, not yourself. If it's about you, then you're on the wrong fucking trip. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's about the universe. It's about looking after your mother. It's about taking care of the people around you in the moment.
You mentioned asked for a TV series or something that would demonstrate Dominion, and two popped right up in my head. One was Little House on the Prairie. Remember how Laura and the family all took care of each other? And they got along because they were in absolute survival, and they had to take care of each other or the whole family suffered. The other one was the McCoys. Remember the McCoys? The big batch of kids, and everybody was taking care of each other all the time. And they had their conflicts too, but they'd work through them in a wonderful way. Can anyone else think of any series or anything that demonstrated Dominion?
I can think of a movie.
Waltons, right?
Oops, what was that, Diane?
Oh, I was just thinking the Waltons going way back there. Yeah. Again, they were in survival mode, though. They were so poor, and they had a lot of kids, and they had to take care of each other. I don't know, that didn't look too inviting to me. It looked like a lot of hard work.
A movie that I saw, it showed, it was an absolute contrast of domination and dominion, was the movie Avatar.
Perfect.
Yes. And an old one, it came up, The Dark Crystal. The Skeksis versus the whatever they were, where the beings from another place split into the good and the bad, the positive and the negative, and the poor little dominated little, I can't remember what they were. They were just, little critters that had to put the crystal back together again to bring the two back together, the good and the bad, back into being whole.
When I saw Avatar for the first time, I was in absolute awe, because that's exactly what I had been trying to bring through and help people to understand about Dominion.
There's another movie called The Green Beautiful, and it's when they're in the Dominion before they come down onto Earth. And then they experience Earth in the domination. But you can see what Dominion looks like before they come. Called The Green Beautiful.
I agree. That was brilliant.
In Jane and my astral travel experience with mind lock and with other realities and time, spaces, and dimensions, our home planet was in Dominion, and it was a beautiful forested planet that we lived on. It was so much like Avatar that I can hardly believe it now, thinking about it, where we could communicate with the plants and the animals, and everybody took care of everyone else. And you were just part of nature. You weren't separate and dominant of it in any way. And that was true Dominion. And sometimes when things would get too rough for us here in trying to simulate why people do the things they do, that was Jane's big study in this lifetime, was to understand why people do the things they do. And mine was to understand how things work. And so between the two, we were tremendously successful in working with people. And when we get so tired of it, the things would be coming at us, we'd go back to the home planet and just take a bit of time out and go and rest up. And
another thing that just came to mind regarding this issue we're discussing is the situation regarding the military sports mentality that permeates through everything. Every word, everything and everywhere all over is just military sports mentality, where when you think about that, what does that mean? That when you're rooting for your team, you scream out slogans and violence against the other team and the other town, the other whatever. That's the sports mentality that's created everything. People start thinking like that. Like that's the only way to think, is in these terms of us versus them, our team against your team, you know what I mean, black against white, all this duality crap. And the military thing is you use military force to, think like a military, everything's a military strategy.
Well,
Get rid of those, we'd be close.
The Olympics started out way back when as celebrating the person, perfecting their body. And it didn't matter, they had some competitions, but it was a friendly competition and everybody was, they competed basically against themselves. They pushed themselves.
Exactly. Here's an example of something like that. Where I was doing, we're making a film, and we're making this movie or documentary of these black kids at talent contests. And so we're behind the scenes watching these kids that were all going to be competing against each other. And this is something that white kids don't do, is black kids help reinforce each other and support each other and cheer each other on. And say, yeah, that's good. Well, get into the beat and get into whatever the other kid's doing and make them feel they're right there in that moment. And that's why they're so good at being creative with, music and all that stuff, because they're dancing and all their stuff, because they're all their friends are around. They're not competing against them. White people, white guys, they want to put you down and act like they don't really like what you're doing and make snide remarks to put you down, because they want you to be above them or to be the big guy that gets all the girls or whatever.
Well, survival depended on domination. That's why the male competitors, the most powerful male, got the most beautiful women, and that goes way back. And I don't think it's not limited to this planet either.
One of the funniest examples of domination and dominion I saw had to do with automobiles and driving. And my friend's father was sitting in the car trying to get the car going, and vroom, 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 and the guy sitting behind him at the light, honk, honk, honk. So the dad got out of the car with the keys. He said, "Here, you take the keys, try to get the car going. I'll sit in your car and I'll honk the horn until you get it going." And I thought it was the most beautiful example of, like, put yourself in someone else's place. And I've followed along, and I know it was just a top pattern of when people are driving along, you can lip read. I mean, they think you can't see them, and they're gesturing and so on, and you know exactly that they're grumphing and hissing and snorting about the other person in the other vehicle. And I always now make a point of celebrating what they're doing and try to get in the car with them, in a sense, and get a sense of how they're feeling, so that first of all it takes away the anxiety from me. If there's something happening in front of me as I'm driving, then what it does as well is you can, as well as notice that there's something coming up, you can see through their eyes what's going on. And so there's that element of empathy, and that, those awful comments that we have sometimes made ourselves, going into that duality of, I'm better than you are, and why did you slow down for, or who knows what the comments are. But while driving, again, going back to that comment, here, hand the keys to them, and you sit in their car and honk.
Well, that reminds me of the first time I went to California, and Jane was a California girl, and maybe in Idaho there was no highways in the state except the freeway that had more than 2 lanes on it. And when I got into California, I thought they were extremely friendly people because they were always waving at me when they went by, and it was a 1-finger wave, you know.
You're number one, yeah.
What I do in those circumstances when I get the middle finger is I give them the peace sign back, and almost every time they'll give me the peace sign back, and it's so wonderful to see that change. They'll be all angry and mad, and you just give them the peace sign.
Yeah, I said, you know, sometimes they give me the I'm number one, and then I give them the peace sign back going, if they're exceptionally unfriendly, I go, you're number 2.
Well, it's time for a break, and then we'll get on with some healing work.
Glenn Morrison.
Hey, Jay, when you're playing the song, can we still talk while it's playing, or is it best to keep quiet?
Welcome back. Frank, we've got some healings. We have some new in
No, we do.
We do indeed. How are you doing?
Very good. Let's see, we have 2 requests, both of them concerning cancer, tumors. And so I think it would behoove us to understand more about the situation. And I'm going to talk directly to the people who are experiencing these tumors, and I'm going to ask you some questions, and you don't need to answer, just answer within yourselves. Number 1, pardon me, I'm listening. Just give me a moment. All right. Cancer cells don't just spontaneously happen. There is a reason for them. There is a breach of the immune system in some manner that allows these things to implant and start to spontaneously go through growth without the suppression of the immune system and our autonomic nervous system. These situations always have a mental emotional cause, or a shock and a trauma. Sometimes a situation can be caused by genetic inclination. I'm still listening. But that does not necessarily mean that simply because you have the genes and have the predisposition or the susceptibility to cancer, it doesn't have to manifest unless something triggers it. Cancers always have a trigger, and the location of the cancer is important too. And in working with hundreds of people, having been the healer of last resort for the last 30 years, and by that I mean when people couldn't get any satisfaction to the doctors or through their spiritual means or whatever, people would come to me and when they'd hear about my abilities. And I learned early on that you don't just eliminate cancer. You eliminate the mental emotional cause and the reason for it being there. And so the first question I'm going to ask, and I'd like for you and anyone else who's listening out there who has cancer, and that in fact includes some of the people in our own group here, how does that cancer serve you? Just think about that for a moment. The automatic reaction I feel out there is kind of one of horror. Well, I didn't create this, but in a way you did, because something in your psyche, your subconscious mind, your patterning programming allowed it to manifest and begin growing. We have thousands and hundreds of thousands of cells in our bodies that are precancerous all the time, I'm told by the doctors. But most of them are just quietly suppressed by the immune system and never manifest. So number one, how does the cancer, the tumor, serve you? And looking at your family is the first thing you can look at there. The second thing is there's a reason, and you can go back in time on this one. Was there a shock or a trauma or something in your experience that could act as a trigger or actually trigger occurred then, but may have taken years to manifest? I'm thinking about the person who had the double mastectomy on this one. Quite often I've found that sexual molestation at an early age causes a woman to reject her femininity and her sexuality. And one of the quickest ways of rejecting your sexuality is to manifest cancer so it will be removed. And then another thought along this line is, did I manifest this so my family would give me care and attention and love, which I may have been denied either now or in my childhood? Think about that. And I'm talking to all of you people who have not manifested cancer also, because you could all be guilty of these things, not guilty, but susceptible to the programming. So the thought being, look back in your lifetime and clear anything that could be a predetermined factor to break down your immune system through your subconscious mind. So let's consider that. I want everyone to be deeply introspective at this point. Now the next thing is, if I get rid of this cancer, if it's not here any longer, my life is going to be changed forever. Am I ready to experience life without these organs that have been removed or should be removed? Am I going to be a different person? Am I ready for life after cancer? How is my family going to treat me then? You see, I'm coming at this from a perspective of absolutely having seen cancer disappear from under my hands when I've asked these same questions to people, and we cleared the mental emotional cause or shock or trauma, and they could sincerely, through the power of their own self-healing, do miraculous healings. There's nothing miraculous about it, really. It's all in the power of your own self-perception, your own understanding of life, and your predisposition to be prone. And in some cases, illness gets to be an addiction. And I've seen people who went on for 20 years with just one problem after another. And this is hypochondria. Well, I always look exactly at this we already mentioned, is what's the need for love and attention that person has. Now, I can go on in this vein of thought for some time here, but in order to heal the two people who have these cancer requests up here tonight, one is from Christine Hauser from Tucson, anal cancer tumor. It has grown so painful because I have to sit on it. That's one. The other is Peter, Whittier, California. They determined he has a
Tina from Glendale.
Pardon me. I'll have to get back up to that one.
This is for Tina from Glendale, Arizona. She has breast cancer, had tumors removed, double mastectomy, and is about to undergo chemo.
Tina, you're in the system. And once you subject yourself to the system, I'm talking about the medical system, it takes a tremendous amount of courage from you to stand up and say, I caused this reality, I can heal it. I know this from a personal experience, my wife having died about 2.25 years ago from blood cancer. And I learned so much in that 6 months when I did nothing but nurse and nurture and care for her. And in that period of time, I learned to respect cancer also. Because she had determined, probably 5 years prior to that she was tired of life on this earth. She wanted to get back to that planet that I mentioned earlier. She wanted to go back home. And she mentioned it several times when we would go there for our little time outs and vacations, that this is where she wanted to be. So she created that. And another thing that I've determined over the years is that cancer is an honorable way of committing suicide. It's a mental, emotional conflict within yourself, and if you are clearing those mental, emotional conflicts out of you right now, or can even handle them later, we could heal your cancer immediately. But the realization is we don't heal it for you. You heal it for yourself. And where you've given yourselves over to the system, then sometimes you needed that. You needed the system. We have a person right on our own group here that went through that situation. But he's grown so much, so incredibly through that he could tell you incredible things about the system and learn you to respect the system. They're doing the best they can with what they have to work with. But always there's that deeper mental, emotional, spiritual cause that supports it and your need, totally apart from the society you live in or the family you're in or anything else. There you have a need for this experience. And I'm not justifying the experience or trying to avoid or evade doing the healing work for you. I just want you to come to the self-realization that anything you create in this life, this reality, you have the power over it. You can heal it. You can clear it. You can release it. You can deny its existence to the degree that your subconscious mind and your spiritual consciousness responds, and it can simply disappear. I've seen it happen. Not quite often, but occasionally. When it does, it truly does look like a miracle, because the things, it's just gone. And even the doctors acknowledge that this is possible, that they've seen it too. And much as my heart goes out to you and everyone out there who's suffering some form of cancer or has the need to express cancer in the future, please bring this self-realization into you. You created it. You have the power to cure it. Now, we're going to create a healing energy that we're going to send to Tina from Glendale and to Christine from Tucson. I want all of you wonderful healers now to step back within yourselves. Step back through your third eye, back through the soul center, back through the psychic center. Through the psychic center, be connected to these two people and anyone else out there that's listening. Now, through the psychic center, step on back deeper into this subconscious mind and feel this flow that's already coming through your system and radiating out your hands. This is a nurturing, loving, unconditional flow of energy that can give you the energy to heal and clear and release whatever the mental emotional cause is in your system and whatever is needed to heal the tumors. Feel this now. Everyone who has cancer of any form, let this energy wrap around you now. Now we call on all the force of consciousness in our unified field, our morphogenic field of healing, through the power of the Christ within us. We see this person, all these persons in their perfect and normal condition. And that's the most powerful healing vocation you could possibly express. With it goes the pure intent of our desire, the full realization that we need to and have cleared the mental emotional cause, and the cancers are shrinking away, they're simply disappearing. Is the power of the Christ within us. That is an acknowledgement of your personal power and our unified power. And we take that unified power, that unified request, to the 0 point in our hearts. The 0 point where the indwelling soul lives in each one of us. Now we connect to that soul center, to that heart center, with the realization that this center is what created the reality, and this is the center that has the capacity to totally clear it in the future standing waves of this moment of now. To the power of the Christ within us, we see this person in the pure and perfect condition. And that's releasing, dismissing the standing waves of the past that hold the form of the tumor or whatever the situation is. It simply does not exist. From the 0 point of our unified field, we carry into the future the pure and perfect condition. And that pure and perfect condition is resonating from the oversoul to the top of your head, down at the 0 point, and lifting energy, the negative polarity, from under your feet and earth mind into the physical elements of consciousness that hold the form of your reality. And from the standing weight of the past, we eliminate the causal factors of this circumstance, and we see you in the future in the pure and perfect condition. Now to reinforce this healing, any time in the future, bring yourself back to this time and space and back into this field of consciousness and reinforce what we have done in this field. And you are healed. That's an important aspect of it is yes, I am healed. Okay, now dropping down the list, we see Peter from Whittier, California. Finally, was able to get a professional dental cleaning, determined to have gum disease, and referred to a specialist, requested healing as an addition of what I've already done. Like Peter, focus your awareness on your mouth now. Now, Peter, recognize that your own neglect of your physical form may have been one of the causative factors for this. And talk to your subconscious mind and promise that you will take better care of the physical body in the future. Now stretch your awareness back in the past to when you did have the pure and perfect system in your dental system, and bring that forward in this 0 point, this moment of now, and on into the future standing waves. And you can feel the energy resonating from our hands. Your whole face is probably getting hot. You're manifesting the perfection. And resonating that on into the future. Okay, that should do it. I've got from Diane. Her friend's dog, Boris, had a leg amputated after being attacked by another dog. She helped to clear the shock and trauma, but the healing is slow. Well, through Diane, we focus our attention now. And again, we clear the shock and trauma from the little dog. And help him to attune to the self-realization that, yeah, he's missing a leg, but he's learning how to get along without it. He's okay. Life goes on. Help him to get up and energetic again. Now put an energy field around him to help him stay up. And Diane, you can continue to do this too. Okay, we have from Teresa healing request. Herman Gerling, London, Canada. Unknown source of chronic pain in abdomen. Possibly blood issues. Well, I'm going to check on Herman before I go into him. Okay, Herman, do you have any negative entities? Yeah, Herman's got some kind of force in him that's causing his problem, or is contributing to it at least. So Teresa, focus your attention on Herman. We'll work through you since you know him. Create a vortex and clear that negative predisposition or entity out of his system that's causing the chronic pain in his abdomen. Does he have antigens? Yes. All right. Enough said. Interesting enough now, in this one, because it's antigens, you have the vortex you create to suck this out has to turn counterclockwise, because this is a negative polarity. By turning it counterclockwise, you'll suck it right out of there. Okay. Continue sucking until the whole abdomen is clear of this negative energy, and clear of the mental emotional cause, broke his immune system so this cross-dimensional invader could get into him. Okay, very good. Now close. Okay, is Herman clear? Yes. Okay, now he'll be sore for a while because these tissues have to come back into normal. Those cross-dimensionals were simply feeding on him and causing that pain and discomfort.
Okay.
And you check with him and make sure it's getting better, because it'll get better quite rapidly now. In fact, let's just wrap him in healing energy. Very good. Okay.
So there's a feedback from Christine, which is beautiful. Frank, I went back into the standing wave and changed the wrong decision to the right one. I want to live and complete my work on Blessed Gaia in service to others.
Wonderful. Thank you.
So I have a personal request, actually, Frank. You said a few minutes ago, a little while ago, you said shock and trauma. And in 1986, I had a really big bike crash, and I broke lots of things, and it's kind of how I got into healing and all of that thing, because I had needed to learn how to be healed, obviously. But I'm just wondering if there's any residual trauma or shock that I'm holding in my body.
What are you feeling?
It's like I can't settle. I can't quite relax.
Is the injury healed?
Well, there's various injuries, and there's one that is really, it didn't heal properly, no. Which is at the top of my right leg, top of my left leg, like my butt. It's like
okay.
Smile on there. But if there's any trauma that I might have mislaid, but also I'm just wondering if I'm being attacked by any entities through the trauma portal that was created thus.
All right, we'll check that.
So yeah, before you go, do your thing, because it might be.
All right. Does he have any cross-dimensional invaders? Yes, you do.
Thought so. I could feel somebody here.
Are these antigens? No, this is different from antigens. This is something else. I think I mentioned last week that if you look around, you can see between 300 and 500 different life forms that are sharing space with us, and any one of those who get into a similar with us can cause us problems because they don't recognize or understand what we are. To them, we're just a nice energy field that they can graze in and share space with.
Yeah, so, it feels like I'm being bitten by midges, kind of thing.
All right.
I get that quite a bit.
I see something that's clairvoyantly coming in. It's like eels that have the suckers that attach and draw energy in the form of blood. Only with you, they're energetic themselves, so they draw etheric energy, but it disrupts your system enough. So we will bring in a helper. I want you to ask your guide or your helper now to look at the situation. First of all, go back in time when the trauma occurred and clear and release one more time the shock, the trauma of the accident, the pain afterward.
Yeah, that's what it's like. I tried my lights. The alarms go off.
Sorry about that.
Excellent. That's just it. Welcome to my world.
All right, back again. Continue to release. All right, I see one factor right now. When you get on a bicycle to go anywhere, now, do you experience fear?
It was a motorbike, and I don't ride them anymore.
All right.
I did get back on it and rode it for a few months, and then I got a puncture, and it was raining, and it was a miserable day, and I got the bus home. So that was the last time I rode a bike.
All right. I want you to go back in time and release the fear that's holding you in that stressed condition. Because your subconscious time does not know time or space. It thinks that whatever you're fearing, whatever fear was implanted in that time or space, is still happening right now. Go back in time. It's like communicating with your low self, saying, low self, please release that instinctive fear. I honor my body enough that I'm not riding motorcycles now. There's nothing to fear, and go back in time to the place where the accident occurred. Take your awareness into earth, mind, and clear it from that time-space frame, from earth, mind. There it is. Did you feel that energy clear out of your behind when I did that?
There's a dark spot. I went to the place. It's like a spirally square tunnel. Wow, a shaft that just drops straight down. Whoa. Must be a vortex point. Interestingly, it was the place, it was about 200 yards from the synagogue where I used to go with my parents.
Mm-hmm. Any connection there?
Well, what's even weirder is on the Seven Sisters Road, which is the Pleiades.
Well, I feel quite a movement of energy out of you right now. Continue to let go of that whole situation. Let go of your tension. Know that that's a different reality. Close now. Close. Okay.
Well, that's interesting. My crystal, I picked my crystal up, and it was like switch on the lightsaber, and I reached behind me. My hand reached behind it, just like the crystal guide, and it was like I sliced the past off, like from behind me.
Okay.
So let's see if that helps to release these things. Certainly the house feels clearer wherever he went.
Yeah.
It was like a shadow being.
No, just listening.
Okay. Don, you have your mic on still. All right, we have a healing request from Leo Gaudette, Stratford, Canada, back pain, scoliosis. This is a tough one because scoliosis is the gradual collapse and twisting of the spine with concurrent pressure and damage to the discs.
I'm sorry about that, Frank. There we go. Thank you.
I got it. It was Don.
Yep.
All right.
Anyway, meanwhile, you were saying.
Okay, we're working at Leo and scoliosis. Now, this is difficult because without actually being in traction and straightening the spine as we do this, it can be difficult. But what I want you to do, Leo, I hope you're listening. And if not, Teresa, you visualize this and help create it. We're going to put Leo in a traction device that stretches his shoulders, upper part of his body upward, while his feet are anchored down. Now, we're doing this energetically, but everything is created energetically before it's created in form. So in Leo's back, we have our hands on that curvature, and as the stretcher pulls his body up, we're pushing that spine back into alignment. Oh yeah, I feel it. Very good. Now we're spinning new discs down through that spine. And strengthening the muscle support that'll hold the spine straight. Now, Leo, you're going to have tremendous release from pain because of what we're doing now. We're wrapping it in a counterclockwise flow of chartreuse green energy to manifest the needed features, and we're counter-rotating around that with a 110 frequency of energy, a white, thick energy that creates like a splint on your back, and that'll stay there until your back heals. So you should release and feel no more back pain, even though to the appearance it will look like you may still have the scoliosis. But by healing it in the etheric form, since we understand that everything's in physical form is an illusion anyway, we shift the supportive features to the etheric that we're creating, and you should be able to function normally. Okay, that should go for that. Okay, Diane has requested that we work on vision. And I mentioned some time ago that I learned a technique early on, and this from an Indian Vedic healer from India, and it worked quite well for me for many, many years. And okay, let's shift. Everyone take their attention to their eyes. Take your glasses off. Now, it doesn't matter whether you're nearsighted or farsighted, this technique works. Now put the palms of your hands up over your eyes. And with your eyes closed, you shifted from outer vision to inner vision. And it's exactly the same thing we just did on the spine. We're doing this in the etheric body. Now just let energy run from your hands into your eyes. Let it be the healing energy from the galactic flow, the unconditional love energy that holds all the frequencies of form. Now what you visualize, what you feel is the energy from your hands is softening the tissues of your eyeball, which have grown rigid and hard over the years. They don't allow the flexibility so the eye can move back and forth normally. So visualize your eyeball just turning into a very malleable, flexible organ now. And focus your attention on first one eye and then the other, left eye first. So all the energy goes there. Now the right eye. And we're imparting our intent to gain the flexibility back into our eyeball that we had as a young person, prior to the time when you had to have glasses of any kind. Now, you use your etheric sight. You exercise this eyeball by looking way out in the distance, with your eyes closed, your hands over your eyes. Imagine you're looking way out at a white-capped mountain 30 miles, 50 miles away. See the features of that mountain very clearly. Very clearly. Move your awareness around it so your eyes are tracking and both focusing on the exact spot on that mountain. Now relax and pull your awareness back in. Just bring your awareness back in to the tip of your nose. Now you may feel your eyeball lengthening and shortening as you do this. That's exactly what's happening. Now look out again at the mountain. Make sure you focus so you see it quite clearly, because you want your eyes focusing together. Now bring your awareness back in to the tip of your nose. Now take your hands down, open your eyes, and look across the room at something at a distance, the furthest thing you can see, and focus quite clearly on that. See it come into focus and clarity. Now hold your hand up about a foot in front of your eyes and look at the palm of your hand and see quite clearly the ridges, the lines in your hand. Make sure you can see it clearly. Now look out at across the room at the most distant thing you can see now. If there's a picture, look into the picture way out into the distance and see it very clearly. Now pull your attention back into your hand again, and you'll see that every time you do this, it gets clearer and clearer and clearer. And basically, that's the technique right there. By exercising once or twice a day and doing this, you can bring your eyes, unless you've got some bad astigmatism or something like that, you can bring your eyes back into functionality, because really all that's wrong with it most of the time is that you've lost the flexibility in your eyeball. Cataracts are a different thing. That's where we use our technicians. Well, that's not true. I take cataracts out of people all the time. You can take them out too. Okay.
So, thank you. We have Crystal Ward, Strathroy, Canada, chronic burping.
Okay, Crystal, I hope you're listening now. Teresa, if she's not listening, then you do this with her.
Okay.
Be with her and feel her, share her burping with her, and she'll demonstrate it for you, no doubt, because she's programmed to do this. Now, Teresa, take $1 out of your purse in between burps, and I'll show it to her and say, Krista, I'll give you $1 if you can burp again. And she won't be able to do it. That's the way you heal hiccups too. And it works every time. It's amazing. Just show them the $1 and say, I'll give you this $1 if you can hiccup again or burp again. Now, in Krista's case, she also has a stretched hiatal hernia there. I'm going to do some healing on that. All right, pull the hernia back down and tighten the esophageal muscle there. She should be okay. Let us know. That's an interesting one.
Okay, thank you.
All right, do you have any more requests?
Looking very quiet tonight. Yeah.
I have a personal request. I have spasms in my back and neck.
In your back and what?
In my neck.
Neck? Mm-hmm. Did you injure yourself?
Probably from lifting things that were too heavy.
Yeah. All right. I'm putting my hand on your throat, and I'm gently pulling your neck backwards. It doesn't hurt because it's just etheric. And I'm pushing in on that top vertebrae at the base of your neck. And I'm also pushing with my left thumb on that vertebrae just above that, the base of your neck. Push it to the right. And coming down through your system, there's another one down just below your bra line. I'll slip that back in place. All right, your lower back is kind of chronically achy. And this is because of the weight you carry and the excess curvature of the back. I'm wrapping an energy field around your entire lower back now. And it's just like squeezing it in and strengthening it. Strengthening the vertebrae so they don't flex forward too far like they are now. This is your lumbar vertebrae. All right. Now that will work for anyone else out there that has back problems too, and most people do. So it'd be interesting to hear if people all over the world got healed on that one. Now, Teresa, turn your neck back and forth, sideways. The spasm will still be there for a while, but do you feel any sharp kinks?
It moves around, but tonight it's kind of under my ear and on the right.
On the right side? Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Let's see if that doesn't do it. Okay.
That's about it, Frank.
We're about there, aren't we?
We are. Thank you very much. Lovely to have you all. And good night, everybody.
Good night now.
Good night, John Boy.
Good night, JP. Thank you.
Good night, Grandma.
Good night.
Night, Lawn Boy. Night, Gym Bag.
Uh-huh.